Sure. What's with the pink shoes?
I don't know. I actually I went dancing yesterday, and I was up till 2 o'clock in the morning, and I just on the way out of my house in Bombay, I wore these and came. So I didn't even think about it.
So one more thing we know is that Mahesh knows how to dance. So we'll make him do that before the session
I don't
ends.
know how to dance. I
Whatever.
dance.
We
I
caught
don't
you
know how
there.
to dance. Yeah.
So I don't know how many of you know this, but Mahesh is also known for the number of countries. He's traveled over 65 plus countries in 7 continents. His travel hack presentation on SlideShare has over 1.32 lakh views. So, exactly. So,
What are you clapping for? You guys are viewing it, not me. So you should clap for yourselves. You made it such a big thing.
so what's that one dream destination which you haven't been to but you would love to go there?
I'd like to go to space. Yeah.
Space.
Yeah. I'd like to go to space.
And, you know, I also have these numbers. It says you have over 68,000 Twitter followers and he has over 40,000 Facebook followers. So you're all the time on Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn. When do you really work or do you really work?
I don't.
You don't. You're obviously not doing any work at Seed Fund.
No. So let me put this way. I mean, I occasionally do try to earn a living. I actually sometimes work, and but being on Twitter and Facebook is just fun. And actually, it's not me. I just post a couple of times a day. The fact is, there are 60 or 40 or 50 or 100,000 people following me. It's not like I don't have a life. They don't have a life. Right?
Really, he's talking about some people sitting here as well.
If you're following me, don't you have anything better to do?
So there will be a Ask Me Anything session. So I'm just prepping you for that. I'm giving you all the fodder for it. So be ready. So Mahesh's favorite F word these days is Flipkart. What's your special affinity towards Flipkart? Like what's going on?
I have no special affinity to Flipkart, right? I really want entrepreneurs to be successful in India, and I believe there's a particular way to build a company. And I don't know, man. I mean, the way to build a company is not to take a huge amount of money and throw it down the drain. I think maybe it just galls me. The right way to build a company is to build it slowly from the ground up, organically, get customers, get money from customers, and grow it. It takes time, to grow a company. I don't think a company in India has become big enough to exit or go public in less than 10 years or 12 years. It takes time. Give it time. Whenever an entrepreneur comes to me, I say, give it time, grow slowly, grow organically. Now, cramming a huge amount of money and is almost like saying, okay, I can't wait for a woman to give birth in 9 months, so I'm going to put 9 men on the job so that she can give birth in 1 month. It's a little difficult, right? So I think similarly, I think my sense on overfunded startups is simply that you simply can't cram money into something and expect that it actually becomes a real business soon. I think it's setting the wrong example for a lot of people. Also, the other thing is a lot of people come back. I was sitting yesterday, and this is a true story. I had these 2 entrepreneurs come over. One of them has just built, in the last 9 months, he's built a 80 crore rupee revenue company. And he's profitable. And he came to me and said, Mahesh, मेरे को funding चाहिए. And I'm saying, तेरे को funding क्यों चाहिए भैया? You're 80 crores in revenue that you built in 8 months' time. You're really profitable. He says, boss, I need the valuation. Now, the crazy thing is we have gone from a world where actually we should respect revenues and profits to a world where people say, boss, I want to be seen as a $1 billion valuation company. And it took me a while to be able to tell him that valuation has no value, right? You really should build your revenue and your profits.
So I hear, you're not entirely bullish on e-commerce, and yet you went on to make 2 investments in 2 e-com companies, right?
I've actually made 5 or 6 investments in e-com companies. No, I'm very bullish on e-commerce, right? I really believe, for example, that at least in the companies that I've invested in, you put stuff out there, you do nothing, every month the customer base grows by 5% without you doing magically every month 5% more Indians buy online. So I think if you do nothing, that compounds into 100% year-on-year growth rate. I'm very happy with that. So you don't have to go buy ads and get Kareena Kapoor to come and tell you how wonderful you are and so on and so forth, or Ranbir or whatever. So I am actually bullish on e-com. I believe many more companies should get into e-com. But however, I think if you get into the key thing out here, there are two things I think. One, you must be differentiated. If you try to sell the same thing that everybody else sells, either you'll have to sell it cheap, or you'll have to spend a lot of money on marketing, or you'll have to do both, and either of these will kill you. So if you have a commodity product, don't bother going into e-commerce. If you can do something unique with a high profit margin where you can be profitable, absolutely do it. And not just goods, even services. Absolutely do it.
Great. So Mahesh also has a very special man in his life. And that man wears a ponytail and he's called Arindam Chaudhary. What's your special fondness for Arindam Chaudhary? What's going on?
He and I are lovers. We have a,
I knew it. Yeah. It's out. You heard it first at the August Fest.
We have a secret thing going. I can't resist him. The man is handsome, charming, beautiful. He's an idiot, yeah. Actually, come on. He's a very fraud. Come on, think about it.
It's his ponytail, isn't it?
No, he's a fraud. I mean, so here's the thing. It's not that I went to very much of college. I went to Osmania University for all of 3 semesters, which is good for Osmania University, right? But at least I have some respect for education. They took a reasonably sincere effort at delivering you the right education. This guy has basically figured out people in India pay for education. So take the money, don't worry about giving them the education. And that's my problem with it. I mean, I don't have a problem with him taking the money, but he doesn't deliver the education. I've had IIPM graduates come for interviews and they could not speak English, right? I've had IIPM graduates who graduated in June of a year and started teaching in July of the year, right? Because that was the only job available to teach their juniors, right? So I think, I don't have a problem with people taking money, but please deliver the education. In his case, he's not, and not just has he not, when somebody has pointed out he's not, he's gone gung-ho and he's tried to beat them up and be a bully. And what you do when you see a bully, you try to beat the bully back up. That's all I was doing.
So how many notices do you get in a year for your tweets and Facebook posts and all those ridiculous interviews you do? How many notices do you get in a year?
I get some strange legal notices, really, and I'm not kidding you. One notice was I'd gone to Brazil for the carnival and I put up pictures of women on the carnival. Somebody sent a notice saying it was against Indian culture to show Brazilian women. So that got taken down, right? I got another notice which some lady in Pune had filed a court asking the court to order me to give her my sperm because apparently she wanted a child. And, I went to the court and said, is this true? They said, no, don't worry, we're throwing it out. But these are real notices, right? And I swear to you, truth is stranger than fiction. If I tell this, if I wrote a movie about this, like the guy before said, where somebody goes to court and says, mere ko uske beej chahiye, you're going to say, this doesn't happen. But it's true, it happens in real life.
So, do you really do this for publicity? Somebody's asked, how publicity hungry are you?
How publicity hungry am I? So, I am not publicity hungry. I mean, I don't go to page 3 parties. I, don't take on Arindam Mukherjee. No, I actually do take on Arindam Mukherjee. I think I'm opinionated. See, basically, if you understand media, how media works, is media works because you sell advertising. Now you have to put advertising in a paper or in a TV show, and between the ads you have to put some content that holds your attention before the ad until the next ad. I think jokers like me do that, right? You are there as fillers so that media can sell ads. So I'm not doing this for getting publicity for me, but so that you can watch the ads and the TV channels and newspapers can sell more ads because they get some editorial in the middle that's interesting.
But you are opinionated, right? You have an opinion on Narendra Modi, on Rahul Gandhi, on Arvind Kejriwal. Why don't you jump into politics yourself?
I think I'd be a really bad politician. I don't know how to...
I agree.
If you know, then why are you asking me?
Because you have an opinion on every politician.
Yeah, I think I've got I don't know if I can be a good politician. I don't know how to lie convincingly, and I don't know how to bullshit too much. And I don't know how to take other people's bullshit also really well. So I think I'm the guy at the corner who throws stones at politicians, but I don't know if I can be a politician myself.
So coming back to your travel, how many countries did you travel in the last 1 year?
In the last 1 year? I haven't got it. Maybe 5, 10, I don't know. So
how much money did you spend?
I don't spend a lot of money on traveling. So I'll give you an example. The last country I went to was Laos. My round trip, Bombay, Laos round trip was 31,000 rupees. My hotel in Laos was 1,200 rupees a day, including 3 meals. Uh, so you do the math. I mean, on all of that entire trip, I must have spent about 35,000 rupees. I went with one of my girlfriends and one of my kids. So all put together, it was, for three of us, it was 90,000 rupees, right? Or something of that sort for 5 days. So it's not a help run a VC fund and a help kind of guide a digital marketing firm. With the VC fund, most of my work, I do two types of work. One is select companies and two is guide the current companies that have been already funded. In terms of selecting companies, you've got to meet them in person, but before that, there's a huge amount of mail that comes in, which I can read anywhere on my phone. And you say yes, no, and we have a database that it goes into. When it comes to guiding companies, most of it again happens on the phone, right? In terms of the digital marketing work, the briefs come in. I don't do any direct op work. There's a team that manages the company and so on and so forth. I look at the strategy, I comment on it. I look at the creative, I comment on it. You can do this from anywhere in the world. So I'm very happy. I usually like to travel where there's free Wi-Fi. You get in there, you just connect your tablet or phone for 2 hours a day, you finish your work, and the remaining 22 hours are yours to work. I think you can work from anywhere in the world. It's wrong to believe you have to sit at the office to do work and you have to, holiday or go on vacation all the time. You can vacation all the time, actually.
So would you be biased if you funded a startup and you saw that the entrepreneur is traveling 100 days a year and he's writing to you from, Leh and Ladakh and
as long as the work gets done, I don't care really.
Really?
Yeah, I don't care.
Okay, so hand to heart, one company, one startup which you passed on and you regret and you wish you had not passed on that company.
I think at some point we were, so by the way, we did pass on Flipkart, no regrets, no problems.
I told you it's his favorite company.
No, but there's no issues. But one of them is really, I think, InMobi. It had come early on with Angels and it was a very small stake and they've executed really well. I wish we were part of InMobi. But that's okay. You win some, you lose some. That's okay.
Right. So what is the best way for one startup sitting out here in this audience to catch your attention?
First thing you said, no talk about startups, so it's okay, we'll talk about startups. So I think the key thing is, whatever you're doing has to sound special, stand out from everything else. For me, I like the idea of being able to back a bunch of people who's out there to change the world in some useful way. And if you're able to do that in an interesting, original way, rather than come and say, I read it in TechCrunch, I'm doing the X of India in TechCrunch. I mean, I do want to tell you, if you read about anything in TechCrunch and try to do that in India, I'll give you a guarantee it'll never work. People set up Minglebox to be the Facebook of India. People set up Guruji to be the Google of India. People set up Flipkart to be the Amazon of India. But I do believe the Google of India is Google, the Facebook of India will be Facebook, the Amazon of India will be Amazon, the Twitter of India is Twitter, the eBay of India is eBay. Don't try to copy American companies. Do your own company which is an original solution to an original Indian problem. You'll do much better. Don't try to do copy-paste.
So no startup talk now. Let's get on with the more interesting questions. I'll ask him a couple of questions and then we'll open it up to the audience to ask him anything, right? So what's the biggest privilege and what's the biggest disadvantage of being Mahesh Murthy?
I don't know what the biggest privilege is. I think I'm at a point where I'm really enjoying my life. I travel a bit. I do the things I want to do. I'm not really an extrovert, contrary to what it might seem. I spend time with my kids, with the people I love. I'm able to do more of what I want to do and less of what I don't want to do. And I think I'm lucky to have come to that point. In terms of disadvantage, I really don't know. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm okay. I mean, maybe others are at a disadvantage because of me, but I'm all right. I'm okay.
So one of the promos we did, and which is very true, so I have to ask you this. You're always very full of yourself, right? Is that like a recent phenomenon or were you always like this?
I think you have to ask my mother, who's here in Hyderabad. I generally, I think, came into myself around the age of 15, 16 14, 15 when I moved to Hyderabad. I think I figured out a while ago that you need to have one of two things in life, either knowledge or confidence. So I was a quizzer, I had a little bit of knowledge, but the difference between me and other quizzers was when I didn't have the knowledge, I used to bullshit and had the confidence. So, when one doesn't work, the other works, and when you have both, it actually works reasonably well. And life is more interesting when you're, when you,
Full of yourself.
yeah, I mean, I'd rather be full of myself than full of anybody else here. I think it's perfectly fine.
Right.
Or empty. If the choices are empty, full of yourself, and full of somebody else, I think this is the fair choice.
So it's always been like this.
At least for the last 30 odd years, it's been this way.
Okay, so pretty much the same. What's your favorite vice?
Vice. It's not a vice because I like it. I'm a very good boy. I,
Oh, really? How many of you in the audience believe Mahesh Murthy is a really good boy?
a lot of
There are
peop-
like 5 people or 10 people
Hello,
now
there are
going
lots
up.
more.
Yeah, that's more.
You're biased, right?
Yeah.
Just because you don't like me,
I'm not saying anything on stage. So, ever been thrown out or banned from any place? And why?
I've never been thrown out of any. I've been thrown out of class several times. I mean, I was sent to a convent school when I was very young, St. George's Grammar School in Abbots. I remember I used to be sent to moral science class. And I figured the easiest way to get out of moral science class was to put my hand up and say, Miss, or sister, I have a question or whatever. It's a what? If Adam and Eve had 2 sons, Cain and Abel, how did they have grandchildren out of the class? That's it. Because I was seriously disturbing the entire class, I'd get thrown out. And I figured that was good time because, not having been to moral science class has been a great education, moral education for me.
Okay. One person you wish you had never met in your life, truthfully, and the name.
Nothing of that sort, yeah. Even this woman who claims that, who went to court asking the court to direct me to give her my sperm because she decided she wanted a child by me and all that. I happened to meet her at one such gathering. It's not like I don't wish I didn't meet her, but I think she's made life more interesting. So I've learned the ins and outs of going to court and dealing with crazy women and so on and so forth. So I think everything's been pretty okay. I don't really have a problem about, people I've met that I didn't want to meet.
A lot of women problems, I don't know why I'm hearing, but
Women
fine.
problems.
A lot of women-related problems.
Okay.
Ever been unfair to an entrepreneur due to personal bias?
Not really, I don't think so. In fact, it's been the opposite. I've often actually been probably overcompensated because it's an entrepreneur. I think, let me put it this way, the documents we write when we sign an agreement with an entrepreneur are really strict. And if you go by the letter of the document which is meant to protect us and so on and so forth, you really can't be very flexible. So I've actually, and you can talk to the people I've worked with, whether it's Vishal Gondal, who's been here before, or others in the audience, we've probably gone out of our way to bend the rules in their favor as opposed to anything else. I've been an entrepreneur, it's not easy, man. I keep telling you people it's the best fun you can have with your clothes on and the best way to live your life, to be an entrepreneur. But it's really tough. So any kind of help you can get from any quarter is always welcome.
So the last question I want to ask you before we throw it open is that, are you really unaffected by all this criticism and all this bad mouthing about you, or is this just a persona you've created for media publicity?
I really don't give a rat's ass about media publicity. I mean, I have nothing to sell. I'm not endorsing anything. I don't really care for anything. I mean, getting one more Twitter follow is not going to increase my income by 1 rupee, right? I think you can go through life worrying about what people think of you. Life's too short. Yeah. Let people think what they want. You go do whatever the hell you want. And I mean, that's fine. People have a right to say that, ye chutiya hai, whatever. Sorry, I'm not supposed to use a word here. They have a right to think that. That's perfectly fine. But that's okay. That's their thought. I'm not there to go and change their mind, saying, no, I'm actually a good boy or whatever else it is. I mean, they feel that way. That's perfectly fine. I actually think that there are better things that they can think about than me, right? Like you or something, right? Certainly. So I really don't really care. I mean, it's okay. If people feel that way, that's their right. Everybody has a right to their own opinion. And if I'm opinionated and if I don't like 2 or 3 things, people have a right to be opinionated and not like me. That comes with the territory. I can't say that I will be opinionated, but you can't be opinionated about me. I can't do that.
So when we were standing there before the session, Mahesh said that, anything, thanks for being here today in Hyderabad for me, for my panel, and I would do anything.
One second, guys, can I interrupt? By the way, today is Akanksha's birthday. Can we all say happy birthday to you? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Akanksha. I promise to embarrass her on stage. Happy
He keeps his
birthday to you.
promises. Thank you. So here's what we're going to do so that I can, later on boast that I can make VCs dance to my tunes.
My God.
So Mahesh is going to do this little dance for us, and this song has been, requested by a lot of people, and that's why this number. So can we have the number, please?
I'm
This
going
is
to dance
special
alone, or are you
guest.
going to dance with me?
No, I'm not dancing. This is a request for you.
Is somebody going to
No,
dance
this,
with me?
this one's for you. You just hear which one we are playing. Go for it.
It's boring dancing alone.
He's Junge. King Khan. Yeah, yo, honey singer. थोड़ा रंग घुमा के अन्ना की जैसा चश्मा लगा के कोकोनट में लस्सी मिला के आ जाओ सारे बना के मुझको थोड़ा रंग घुमा के अन्ना के जैसा चश्मा लगा के कोकोनट में लस्सी मिला के आ जाओ सारे मूड बना के
I think you all just wanted to see how shameless I am, right?
I don't know about anything else. I know that, and I know Mahesh is a friend. I know he really keeps his promises. So that much I can tell you. So we're opening the floor for questions. You can go and ask whatever you want to ask. As you know, he's not worried about answering any questions. So anybody in the audience, raise your hand. Yeah, you want to ask? Yeah, go ahead, and then we'll come to you. Yeah.
They have done a lot of service by bringing to light a fraud operation that was IIPM. Having said that, I've known you for quite some time through your quiz circle, the K circle, Ravi Shankar, Gajendran and Sainath. You are undoubtedly Hyderabad's most famous dropout. And if you were to look back on your entrepreneurial journey in the last 15-20 years, are there any things that you would have done better if you were equipped with the knowledge that you have today?
Is there anything I would have done better if I had?
If you are equipped with the knowledge and wisdom and hindsight that you had today. So if you can share a couple of your thoughts.
I don't know, like I said, these are things I've kind of learned over time. When I started out, I used to believe that you build big brands through advertising. Today, more and more, and I used to believe it's fine to run a number 3 company or number 5 company in a business. Today, I look around me, there are a couple of things that are happening. One, that in any sector, whether you look at, in cars, you have Volkswagen, Toyota, and a dozen car makers, but in electric cars, there's Tesla, and then everybody else is smaller. In search engines, Google is number 1. I don't know how many people can name number 2. In video, YouTube is number 1. Who can name number 2? In auctions, eBay is number 1. Who can name number 2? And so on and so forth. So what's happening is we've come to a world where essentially the market leader gets 80% market share, number 2 gets 10%, 8% market share, number 3 gets 0.8% market share from a world where it was 20, 18, 16. So that's the first thing I've learned now is that there's one dominant leader in the marketplace, and if you're not number 1, you're nothing. The second thing I've learned, which is again the contrary of what I learned when I was young, was when I was young, I learned that you can advertise and build a brand. And today I look at all the market leaders we talked about, whether it is a Zara in women's fashion clothing, the world's biggest women's fashion brand, or WhatsApp, which got sold for 18 billion, or Facebook, or Twitter, or Amazon, or Google, or whatever. And these are all brands which are built with zero advertising. So in effect, when you have zero advertising, you're going to win. When you spend on advertising, you're going to lose. So these are the opposites of the things that I thought 15, 20, 30 years ago. And so today when I work with the companies, I start up by saying, look, there's one shot, you have to make it to number 1. And to make it to number 1, you have to have a product that gets extraordinary word of mouth. And examples, Redbus, Carvale, My Dentist, these are examples of companies that have managed that. And then you'll win and you'll be far ahead of anybody else. So these are 2 things that I wish I'd known a while ago. That's okay, I've spent a lifetime learning them.
So I want to ask one moment. Who's going to ask a really spicy and interesting question right now?
Spicy and interesting.
Interesting question. Okay, go ahead.
Is it a spicy and interesting question?
It probably is.
Okay.
So my name is Tarun, and I'm here for my startup Learn More. So Mahesh, there was an article recently about what happened with Redbus and their investors playing devil.
Okay, so I'm happy to answer. So here's the thing, right? But their equity, our equity, and what the pool of ESOPs is that is given to the employees, right? And what to do with these pools. And when we sold the company to Naspers of South Africa last year, all those norms were met. Now what happened is, after Naspers bought the company, there was some kind of issue between some of the senior management in Redbus. So I'll tell you, basically the story was this. When the guys came into Redbus, they said, हमको equity नहीं चाहिए, हमको तनख्वाह दो. So they gave them तनख्वाह. When the company got sold, they said, हमको equity भी चाहिए. Right? So that thing was handled, how it was handled, it was an entirely internal matter which happened after we had exited the company and we had nothing to do with the company. All I can say is, theoretically, I would love every employee to have equity. But also the truth of the matter is, when in my own companies I offer employees equity, they don't want to take it. They say, I want salary. Except when the payout happens, they want this also and that also. Right? So I think there's an issue on both sides. One, employees want the best of both worlds. In this case, I think whatever happened was, from what I understand, and I'm not sure, that the spirit and the letter of the agreement was kept. The employees wanted more. Now it is up to the CEO to give more or not give more. He did what was technically right. Now he could have done better or worse, that's his call. But it's beyond our ability, because we had already exited the company then. Right? So this is a lesson to you guys. I mean, if you want to get the benefits of Redbus equity or equity like that, then you should be open to getting equity and taking a discount in salary. You can't have maximum salary and maximum equity. One is risk and one is insurance. You can't have most risk and most reward and most insurance at the same time.
So the best people to embarrass us are our friends. So I'll give an opportunity to a friend in the audience to ask a question. Kanchan, you wanted to ask something.
Kanchan, मैं मारूंगा तेरे को तो कुछ करे.
I had to come in because no one is asking the spicy enough questions, right? So I'll just ask you, our society has a sense of morality, right? Which is cast in stone. And you're not supposed to waver from that, at least not in public. You can do anything behind the closed door, right? You are complete contrarian on that part as well, not just as a VC, but as an individual, you've been contrarian, right? How do you deal with all the criticism and the flack which comes your way?
So here's a weird thing, right? So when I explain to people, people ask me, Mahesh, are you married? I say no. You have children? I say yes. How can you have children if you're not married? I say, why? What's the big deal? The actions that go into making children are not the same actions that go into being married, right? That somewhat different. Oh, good, you have attended your biology lessons, good, right? So marriage to me is basically sanctions of Buddha Buddhi, earlier generation saying, Acha bhaiya, you can do it with each other. I'm too old here. My parents never asked me for their sanction. So I don't think I have to ask them. So essentially I believe that, I don't particularly believe in marriage. I believe in commitment and long-term relationships. And that's okay. Now, when I explain that to people, they're okay with that. But generally, lots of other guys say, boss, that's not fair. Because I can't do that. But that's your problem. You have to deal with it yourself. Right?
Okay. One more question before, I think, audience. So you have been very vocal about this concept of topi investment that you talked about in context of Flipkart. The fact is that so far that topi has not really passed on because no one has exited. So do you still stand by your topi investment philosophy?
Yeah, I do. I think that you can build a real company or you can build a company for valuation, and finally in the end, even if you build a valuation focused company, and there were people who built these bubble companies, there are many of them around the world, they're all collapsed, nobody remembers them anymore. You're an entrepreneur. I mean, do you want to kind of do it the wrong way, get rich by 30 and then have nobody talk to you for the rest of your life, or do it the right way, enjoy life? And even if you don't get $5 billion valuation today, that's okay. Build it over time. I think, it's always better to get rich slow than to cut corners and get rich quick. Maybe I'm very old-fashioned in that respect.
Great. Anybody else? Yeah.
Thanks, Mahesh, for the uniquely choreographed...
Could you speak a little louder, yeah?
Yeah. Thank you, first of all, for the uniquely choreographed high-energy moves, steps. Okay.
You wanted to dance with me? You could have come, no?
No, that's okay. I don't have energy like you.
We can play it again if you like.
Yeah, I'll do that later. Myself, Mani, a founder of firstbreak.in, and I have a question for you. Being an VC, what exactly you look while evaluating a company?
Okay. The first thing any VC looks at, regardless of what they say, before I get into a company, can I get out of the company? Right? It's the truth. मैं पैसा डाल लूँगा पर पैसा निकालूँगा कैसा? The first thing. And there are only 2 or 3 ways you can get out of a company. One, I take a minority stake, you're the entrepreneur, you buy me out. The thing is, that's never going to happen because I anyway have a minority stake. You're going to screw me. You're not going to give me the value I want. So you're not going to give me an exit. There are only 2 other ways. One is that you go public and I sell my shares to the public. And the third is that somebody acquires you and acquires my shares also. So essentially we look at those 2 things. Can you go public or can you be acquired? For you to go public, can you hit that particular size, that run rate, that growth that allows us to go public? The thing is, out of 5,600 companies which have gone public in India, only 3 or 4 have come from VCs. So very rare for VC-backed companies to go public, though with the newer exchanges I would like to see that happen. So the only thing we look at is, can you be acquired? For the can you be acquired, it's a deeper question, which means when you're acquired, you're literally selling the company. Do you want to sell the company? Are you a serial entrepreneur? Right? To sell the company at a right value, you have to be the dominant leader in that space. Can you become the dominant leader in that space? Can you do that profitably without really wasting money on advertising and marketing? Many VCs talk about team. I don't so much believe in team. Team is this American concept. If I look at the companies, successful companies are backed. Funny was pretty much the guy in Redbus. Mohit was pretty much the guy in Carvale. Whatever, Dhirubhai was pretty much the guy in Reliance. JRD was pretty much the guy in Tata and so on and so forth. We are still a country where one guy can make a difference and get the team along the way. I don't necessarily believe you have to have 5 people to start off on day 1. You can have 5 people, 1 person on day 1 and after 2 years 5 people can come. So after looking at all of that, then I sit back and say, okay, can you be this dominant leader, blah, blah, blah. Do I understand your business and can I help you? So if you come, even though I went to Chemtech and OU, if you come with a chemical process plant, I can't help you because my knowledge about chemistry stopped at Babcock and Wilcox boilers or something, right? It hasn't proceeded beyond that. So my own bias is towards consumer, brand and so on and so forth. So can I help you with that? If not, I'll point you at somebody else who can help you with that because it's better to do that. And the last thing I look at is, can we get along together? Because after we've invested, there's going to be times when you shout at me, there's going to be times when I shout at you. We should be able to have chai or beer or whatever else it is and calm down and proceed because that relationship has to be there. If you keep thinking that I'm some VC, I'm an investor, I'm the guy to be screwed, it's not going to work. You got to say like, Acha, this guy is along with me for the ride. I have to sometimes listen to him, sometimes he'll listen to me. So we look at these 6 things and then we flip a coin and say heads or tails. No, I'm kidding. We don't do that, but we look at these 6 things. Yeah,
One moment. I want to give an opportunity to a lady to ask a question. Could you please give her the... Mahesh is going to be around, so you can ask him the questions later.
Hi Mahesh.
Hi.
In Quora, there's a trend that you are a sarcastic retard. So what are your views on that? Sarcastic retard.
I'm a sarcastic retard.
Yeah, in the Quora we all, the trend is going on.
Okay, I'm probably sarcastic. Whether I'm a retarded person or not, you have to decide. But sarcastic, yeah, it's not sarcastic. It's like you try to be funny. And sometimes, when you have absolutely obvious questions, you only have to give like somebody asked a question saying, is it not a coincidence that, whatever, some X and Y and said, yes, the fact that you have 5 fingers on your hand and, there are 5 points of a pentagon are also like, seriously, so I think at some point you have to be sarcastic. And that's okay. Or that's me, or maybe I was in a bad mood. Maybe I was having PMS or something.
Because 14,000 people thinks that.
Huh?
14,000 people who follows you thinks that you're a sarcastic retard.
It's okay, yeah. If you think so, it's fine. But then why are they following me?
I am the one.
Maybe if you want 14,000 followers, you should also be a sarcastic retard. Apparently it works on Quora. I don't know.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, ma'am.
So, sorry, let's take the questions later now. The panel next is waiting. Sorry about that.
Great.
You can catch up with Mahesh later.
No problem, thank you.
We just want to take this opportunity to thank the organizers for having us here. It's fantastic to be in this auditorium. And special thanks to the Triple IT team, Srinivas Kolipara, Ramesh Loganathan, Harini, all of you. Thank you for all the effort put in here. Thank you for having us. Thanks,
Thanks
Mahesh,
so much. Thanks, guys.
for taking the time out.
What I'll do is, many of you want my business card. Actually, I'm not carrying any. I'm Mahesh at seedfund.in or Mahesh Murthy on Twitter. You can find me. And generally, all my numbers, you can Google. Everything's up there.
It's easy to find him.
You can send me
online.
anything. Don't send me a notice asking for sperm, please. All else is fine.
Thank you, everybody.